It started in December of actually 1980, when the Mosquito Sumu and the Rama leadership, having spent $50,000 of cultural survival money from Massachusetts, demarcating their territory and providing for a map that showed where they lived, they went to the Sandinista government recently installed and said, "We are prepared now to describe our territory where we live, and we would like you to respect it as we respect you." Within 2 months, the leadership of the Mosquito Sumu and the Rama were arrested. Within 3 months after that, a war had begun. What was the issue? It was land. In Nicaragua, if any of you have ever traveled there, you would know that around Managua and around Lake Nicaragua, it is a disaster. It became a disaster, not in 1979, but in 1972, when there was a massive earthquake. I can tell you, as of this very moment, that earthquake has never been cleaned up. Western Nicaragua is a mess. It produces little or nothing. Yet, virtually all of the Nicaraguan population, except for the Mosquito Sumu and the Rama, live there. How are they to survive? Well, they found a way to survive. Because all of the green stuff, all of the gold, all of the oil, all of the natural flora and fauna of what they called Nicaragua was inside those demarcated lines provided to them by the Mosquito Sumu and the Rama. And they said, "We don't want to deal with you monkeys we will shoot out of the trees. We want only to have all of Nicaragua. If you will be a citizen of Nicaragua under equal rights, you will accept equal responsibilities. You will not be separatists. If you are separatists, we will kill you." And so the war began. The Indians simply said, "We do not want to live in Managua. We do not want to take what you have. We only want what we have, and we want to take care of it. We will share it with you if you ask." But they didn't ask, because they believed that the Mosquito Sumu and the Rama were but mere monkeys that could not be dealt with, to be shot out of a tree. And so for 9 years, the Nicaraguan government prosecuted a war that produced tens of thousands of people dead. And they prosecuted a war that most of you had never heard of. You heard about the Americans and the countries, but you didn't hear about the Indians and the Nicaraguans. And in the Indian War in Nicaragua, that ran until 1991, 200 Indian villages were obliterated. And over 10,000 Indians killed of 120,000 people. Why did the war come to an end? Nicaragua ran out of money because its friend in the Soviet Union collapsed. And so they couldn't prosecute a war anymore. In El Salvador, a neighbor of Nicaragua, right around the corner, there are 300,000, or were 300,000 Indians known as the Papil. They're the only Nahuatl-speaking people left in the world. What's Nahuatl? Nahuatl is the language of the Aztec people. They are the people who followed the Aztec. They moved down to El Salvador after they found that they could no longer live in Mixtec, Tenochtitlan, otherwise known as Mexico City. Within the period of 1975 to 1990, 30% of their population was wiped out. And what was the issue? Was it that they were communists or that they were Democrats? No, that was for the popular press to discuss between the insurgents and the Duarte and subsequent governments. The Indians lived in the northeastern part of El Salvador, and they occupied a tract of land which was the only productive land of El Salvador. And you might know that El Salvador is the most populous, densest of all states in all of Central America. And most of those people live in San Salvador. Well, the Indians themselves were interested in probably talking to people, but people wanted to divide up their land. Both the insurgency and the government. I must say the United States contributed probably the most important influence for the demise of the Papil people when it provided funds along with the unions, AFL-CIO, and a study of how to redistribute land in El Salvador. The land they wanted to redistribute, it happened to be the Papils. The story is repeated in Guatemala, and these are the violent conflicts that you have heard about. And I'm simply telling you, these are wars about land. No one had any need for the Indian. It was the land they wanted. Political violence is how it is done in other places. But I must say it has as significant a repercussion as if bullets had been put in people's heads. Political violence involves such things as the redefinition of a waterway so that it is no longer going one way, it is going somewhere else. Political violence involves such things as cutting down trees that happen to be someone's home. Political violence involves such things as setting up a line dividing people from their neighbors. These things kill every bit as much as a bullet to the head. And you say, Rudy, what's the evidence? The evidence is in several studies that have produced, one of which I mentioned in the very beginning, Griggs study, that observed that 69 million people from First Nations around the world were killed from 1945 on to 1993. But of those, 30 million, or nearly half, were as a consequence of bulldozers, logging trucks, health programs, and political institutions to help out. I call your attention, if you didn't get it, I did. My local paper, which happens to be the Press Democrat in Northern California, published this article on the ancient rainforest doomed. That got my attention, but it wasn't as interesting as this picture next to it, which is a picture of a leader of the Panan people in Borneo. Let me just call your attention to a few things here. It says, there have been protests from U.S. senators to Penans armed with blowpipes and poison arrows who threw up roadblocks and destroyed logging equipment. You see, the Malaysian government has a substantial logging policy for this part of their claimed territory.